My next Seatails guest is Mr. Bert Rosenberg. Welcome aboard, sir.
How are you?
Could you tell us a little history of your boating experience?
Yes, I've got about 10 years of boating experience. I started with a small boat and worked my way up to a 41-foot trawler. Quite a bit of knowledge, quite a bit of difference in learning about a larger boat. And I think one of the biggest things to learn about is the equipment that you've got on aboard your boat, mechanical things especially. I was quite fortunate and unfortunate in the fact that I ran my hand through the chain and the anchor, which broke it up pretty good. Fortunate to the fact that I still have a hand.
Busted your fingers and everything?
Yeah, broke them all up.
How did that happen?
Basically carelessness and not knowing how some of the equipment was set up, which was quite different from the boat I had before. One of the things is when they set the switches up for the power windlass.
Which for our non-boating friends or new to boating, what would that be?
It's a mechanical device, a big electric motor sits on the front of the boat that pulls up the anchor chain.
So you don't have to do it by hand? You don't have to do it by hand. Just push the button?
You push the button. The button on my boat happened to be located in quite a dangerous position, which was right under the chain. A lot of it was my own carelessness, which, of course, you learn about these things
so
the hard way.
So the chain's coming in, and your hand got caught in there and pulled your hand in.
Pulled my hand all the way in. I was fortunate that I was smart enough to pull my foot off the switch and release the brake and get my hand out. Another thing that's quite important is when you go out that there are people with you who know what they're doing. Not only the captain of the boat, everybody else should have a good knowledge of the mechanics of the boat so that somebody can bring you home if something happens to the captain. We happened to be quite fortunate. We were out with the club. There were nurses out there who could take care of my hand.
With the yacht club?
With the yacht club, right. We're out with the Pacific Corinthian Yacht Club.
That's perhaps a safety factor to go on these cruises together and everything.
Right. It's a big factor in that if anything happens to you, there's other people to help. One of our primary reasons for joining the club was the fact that we knew very little about boating originally and felt if we were going to spend any time at the islands or boating any distance, it sure would be nice to do it with other boats or people that knew what they were doing. As I said, there was a nurse aboard, or aboard one of the boats, came out and bandaged me up. It was to a point, it was over a 4th of July weekend, and we knew there was no sense coming in, that there was no doctors going to, go to emergency and get your wound cleaned, and they wouldn't really even set the fingers. So we knew this beforehand, so we stayed out there and came back in. They made me as comfortable as possible, and they were able to come back in. But I still stress the biggest thing is to know all the equipment that's on your boat and how it functions, and what, even if changing a boat, if you went from one boat to another, to be sure you learn the differences on how that equipment's been installed, to know where the faults are and the advantages to the equipment.
What kind of medical equipment did you have on your boat?
On my boat, I just had between all the boats we did.
Between all of them put together?
Yes, basically I had a regular first aid kit, a fairly good sized one.
Was there anything for pain really, for extreme pain?
Not really. That's something that's very difficult to...
We've done a whole show with a doctor that tells you the special medications and everything you should have, where you get training, how to set a broken leg. And I think this is one of the biggest things that a lot of boaters overlook is the medical aspect, and having what you need above and beyond the first aid kit. Right. But let's assume that you're out there by yourself without the club, and with the same equipment that you had on board, what do you think the end result might be, especially if you're out there alone or just you and perhaps a wife that had no knowledge of how to operate the boat?
I think we could have got to the harbor, to the entrance of the harbor, but I don't know about beyond that. Because
she'd have to bring you in and stuff, so you'd probably have to call the harbor patrol, have them board your boat, and
come and get you,
pilot it in for you.
Yeah, because But as far as really having full medical, you have to know what you're doing to some extent. But I believe that you're really limited to what you can have aboard unless you're trained at using it. A lot of this equipment's
the doctor that we did have on, he said go to your own doctor. For instance, especially if you're going on a long cruise, and you should get a special physical, special dental exam, and the doctors and dentists will give you a whole list of medications with instructions when and how to use that medication. So that's part of the educational process where your doctor will help educate you and the pharmacist. As well as going to the Red Cross to learn how to set a broken leg. And then, of course, you need the cast and the materials, the splints and, what have you, for different parts of the body that may be broken. Because if you're out in 25-foot seas and gale winds with a broken leg and no painkillers or anything, and help might be as much as a day or two away, you're going to be in misery.
Well, we do have an advantage here where we're located, is the fact that the Coast Guard has a helicopter rescue service and so on, which you try not to ever want to use, but it is there if needed. It's the type of thing that they can they come get you pretty quick if it's an emergency. But other than that, it's...
Of course, if you're cruising between here and Australia somewhere, there are limitations to other help, but there are doctors on board other ships. You can call them up on the radio and perhaps they can rendezvous and help you along. But it's better if you have the knowledge and what you need on your own. I'm sure that's the best way to go, to invest the time and energy in building the equipment and knowledge that you need. And on that note, I'm going to say I really appreciate this Sea Tale, and we'll be back with another Sea Tale right after this.